Hey guys, it is a storm going on today. Got some sleet outside, freezing temperatures, things like that. So I'll definitely be bringing a little bit of warm water into this mix, just to kind of bring the water temperature up to lukewarm, not really to have a warm water shave. Here's the gear, kind of a repeat. With in terms of the brush, we'll use the B1 Declaration Grooming B1 Franklin. And the razor will continue to be the Homelike Shaving Taiga stainless steel adjustable. I am a sucker for a stainless steel adjustable razor. This one has proven to be of excellent quality, but maybe it's geared a little too high for me. A lot of aggression at the even in the mid-range sections for me. However, the low range is nice. The In honor of continuing the honor of Stirling, this is their 10-year anniversary month, January 2022. And so another seasonal that I picked up that sounded really good was the Smoky Grapefruit. And then we're going to put a different blade in the razor. And I was telling you about its aggression. Maybe this blade, especially since it's got 8 uses or so, will feel different in this kind of aggressive razor. I have had this thing soaking for 15 minutes or so. The crispy tips. It does get those curly, kind of crispy tips, like those treated brushes usually do. I believe that I like these tips quite a bit. It's just that the density here combines with the stalk, the shaft there to have kind of too much backbone for me. So today is a different experiment. While I put the razor blade in the razor, today's experiment is and this is the Etched Astra. Like if my Superior Platinum, I have to handle it just right. Now, one of my friends online gave me word passed on that it seems like maybe they have switched back to the inking instead of keeping with the laser etching. So we'll see how that transpires, see if that holds up. In my experiments in the past, the inked version and the etched version pretty much perform the same. So that's a relief. Even if they switch to the etched, then it is still going to give us the same great performance. I'm lining up the little marks here at the end of the end cap, make sure everything's kosher there. Now, what setting should we use today? 1.25 is about as low as I can go here. With this razor, I've also discovered that a more open handle angle, resembling more 45 degrees, is better for me. It seems to be the more balanced approach. The more 30-35 that many razors go with seems to be a little too much weight, a little too much focus on the safety bar. Now, today, the Smoky Grapefruit. You definitely get the grapefruit. It's not super pungent. It's not knocking you over or anything. And I do get a light smokiness. And so I am really looking forward to trying this out. And this is the 3-ounce size that Stirling does with their seasonals. And this was a seasonal in the Black Friday timeframe of 2021. Obviously, Grapefruit from Southern Witchcrafts is another soap that got released. They released Grapefruit 2 in the last few months as well. And so perhaps Stirling was trying to recognize that people are loving kind of a grapefruit with a slight darker twist, and so maybe that's why they decided to come out with this one. At first glance, I really do enjoy the scent. I've enjoyed Grapefruit 1. I don't think I've tried Grapefruit 2 yet from Southern Witchcrafts. And today's experiment is going to be to see if we can help out this brush, to give it a leg up and help it to like my face better by putting more soap in there. That's not my usual practice. It's probably not something I'm going to continue doing, even though I can afford to waste soap if I want to. But I think it'll end up with a lather that's not quite as wet as I want it to be, but maybe with more soap in between those bristles. like an overloader does, a face lathering overloader kind of person might do. If I do that, maybe that will let it be a little more easygoing and on my face and not quite give me that firm backbone that I got the first time I used it. So let me get my face wet. Now often a 25-second load is all you need on this type, and I believe that's what I used yesterday. Let's do like a minute, or let's just do it until it looks, like it's just excessive or something like that. Let's just not really bother too much with rules. I am going to shake out a lot of the water. This big old knot, it's got to be a 28 or a 30. Holds a lot of water. Okay, so I'm going to bend you down. And we'll start at the 55 mark because that's coming up. And we're going to kind of take that load it like you hate it kind of philosophy here. I don't normally espouse that because I think it gives you too much soap that ends up with a lather that's thicker than you need, not as slick as you need. And then it affects your shave. It affects many aspects of your shave. If it's not as slick as it could be, then, obviously that's going to affect things. Now that we've kind of let the water come down into the soap, let's turn it over to the side here to let a little bit of the super wet stuff out, and maybe we can kind of get a pasty thing going on here. Yeah, look at all that water continuing, and that's after I shook a whole bunch out. Some people load like this every day. That's 50 seconds, I think, and I mean, surely this thing has enough, right? Now but that's still quite wet, and I did recently discover that a high backbone brush that's very dense, the water can actually inhibit the absorbed soap, and so there we go. So here we are with basically a minute of loading there, and it sure doesn't look like it, does it? Now surely in and amongst those bristles, we're hoping that there's some soap there. So let's just see what happens. The smokiness, the kind of the grapefruit notes are starting to show up there, especially now that it's wet. So I do plan to run it thicker. Surely I'll be able to, right? With that much loading? That's just crazy. It's over twice as long as I loaded for yesterday. I'm going to get down there and push really hard and grind. And it even so, because of that density, it's still not splaying all the way. But just to make sure that the soap here has a chance to touch all the water that's inside the brush is my hope. Looks nice. Definitely doesn't look too pasty. All right, why don't we just kind of go with this and see what happens. I did add, some water, but 13, 14 milliliters. So, that is kind of an average amount of water for my shaves sometimes. And get my face wet again. The razor's in the blade, or vice versa. A little bit more than one day of growth today, and so it should be a pretty comfy shave. right away, you know, we're met with that just kind of a ball. It's like I'm rubbing a tennis ball on my face with just kind of maybe some velour on it to give it a soft feel. Okay, what if I push really hard? That is too much work to have to do to shave. But, you know, there are guys out there, this is the feel they like. They mainly maybe just focus on the tips. They don't really want the display. They want to scrub at their face. So this is going to suit them. Now we can, after we've worked it on our face for a little while, we can see kind of the lather that's starting to kind of develop inside the brush. So we definitely have kind of some concentrate going on. But no, it's not really changing the performance of the brush very much. Now this lather is not going to be as slick as my usual Stirling lather. It's just not as hydrated. But one thing you can do if you ever find yourself in that situation and you don't want to add water to it, I'm just picking up some of the excess lather so it just doesn't get wasted away. You can just give extra time of working that lather into your face. And that'll help it to kind of still protect you. Since I don't have tons in the bowl, I'm trying to conserve a little bit and just taking the excess away from my face. I am going to dribble some water on the brush here, since I kind of know that the thick lather is not really helping me out too much. I mean, I think it's helping out a little. But probably not enough to make a big difference. The scent, yeah, definitely getting a good dose of the smoky grapefruit, and that's exactly kind of what I'm smelling. Yeah, you can kind of see the blotchiness of the lather there. Sure, it's more opaque, and some people like opaque lathers. That's kind of what they go for. And opaque lathers sure are pretty, right? But my priority is the slickness, and a lot of times the opaque stuff just doesn't, it's not as slick as it could be. Let's put it that way. Let's drizzle some more water on the brush. Trying to keep it from coming out the bottom of the brush. Yeah, I like that. The smoky grapefruit. You know, it's going to be unisex because it's, you know, we're not dealing with musky stuff. I don't know, the smoky aspect of it might make it a little bit more masculine, more prone to be liked by the guys. Definitely not it's a way to be fruity without being fruity, in the sense of if you like grapefruit but you don't just want to walk around smelling like a grapefruit, this may be a great way to go. All right, lowest setting. We'll see how the Astra does. Now that's very nice. You do hear just a little bit of audio, but there's no tugging. It's moving through the hair easily. So no irritation there at all. Very comfortable. A nice, very light edge feel. A feel that tells you that you're doing a great job shaving. It means, yeah, hey, I'm shaving, but it's effortless. You know, and that's a good feel. All right. And let's see what the second pass gives us. Is the efficiency of the razor going to make it to where I don't want to do a third pass? Will the second pass be all I need? And all this work, all this effort to try to get it to display has to be done with such a short, stubby handle. It's kind of another ding for me. The handle doesn't do any favors in terms of having to work it. So perhaps this was just made for, I don't know, either people with stronger hands or smaller hands, or where they have better leverage, or people that don't just like to display the brush like I do. Cross grain now. Moving easily. Does not seem like I'm generating any kind of irritation. This seems to be the blade to use with this razor. I think it was the Gillette Platinum I tried before, and maybe a Nasset. This one seems to be much nicer, at least for me. All right, yeah, of course we have plenty of lather to do the job. We've already got a good bit on the brush, and then there's a little bit left on the inside the bowl, you know, to contribute. Go ahead and do a third pass, and I guess another experiment I could do is for this brush is to soak it for a long time before the shave. See if that affects it. In terms of right now and what you saw me do, painting, a little bit of scrubbing, but painting, it's very good at that. It feels very nice. I could see how Scott would make a good dent in the shaving market by bringing that brush out. And he must have just hit on those right people who like backbone, you know. And that's one of those things where if you hear people talk about the declaration brushes and how they're totally worth the money and it's the best brush they've ever had, there's a good many people out there that do that. And then you get one, but it happens to not be for your style. Then all of a sudden, you're holding this brush that everybody loves, but you don't, right? It's just because, you know, not all brushes are made for the same shavers. here's a great thing about Scott. One of the great things about Scott is that he has a commitment to your satisfaction as a customer. And so if you get one of his brushes and try it out and it is not for you, it's not your style, then I'm pretty sure he will just have you ship it back to him and give you your money back. He's just that focused on it. If it's a matter of repair or that maybe it's set out of spec or something like that, then of course he's going to either fix it or give you your money back. But even if it's just not your thing, he'll make it right. And it's wonderful to see that. I don't believe I've given myself any irritation here on the third pass. We are still on the smallest of the settings for this razor, and it looks like the Astra SP might be the best blade for me and this razor. And of course, we've definitely smoothed it out a little bit since we've used it about 8 times, 8 or 9 or so. By the time all the water was added to the brush, I wasn't pouring it from right here. I was just kind of sprinkling. Because we loaded for so long, I knew that this wasn't really a ratio that I wanted to store and try to duplicate, just kind of Wild West, just do what we feel like today. But I'd guess that, 17 milliliters is about as much water that was used today. And I used 3 passes of lather, and I could probably make 2 more passes at least out of what we have left. And that's a beautiful lather. I added more water to it, and so I got it more to my standards. So yeah, the extra water, extra soap with all that loading just didn't really help me out too much, it seems. Maybe this brush wasn't able to pick up tons of soap from, and so maybe I was starting from a different place than I thought I was, thinking I had a lot of soap in there. We sure didn't see a lot of soap right after I loaded. And so I could maybe try again in some way, maybe do a scoop of a whole teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of soap and press that in the bottom, because that's over twice as much as Stirling's soap that I need for a good lather. And so that was one way to increase the soap amount if I wanted to try that. So maybe next time I'll try soaking it a lot. We'll get a few more uses into it for sure. I do have just a little bit of irritation here. So the Taiga did a very good job, and this does seem to be a razor that weeper, just a tiny weeper right there. So it's definitely sharp, and you can't just check out on it until you've used it for a while and you get used to it. But I'm happy with the closeness there. Now, I've got 2 that I couldn't decide on which to bring. This is a very pineapple forward scent, a tribute from Declaration Grooming, and then Agar, which is an oud scent. So does oud go well with pineapple? Let's try it. I'm curious because we've got a smoky pineapple. We've got a pineapple with some kind of spicy scents to it, So let's just see if oud can work well with that. So many things definitely do. And so maybe I say pineapple, I meant grapefruit. Maybe oud doesn't work well with grapefruit, but maybe the oud can kind of work well with all the spicy, smoky notes that are accompanying the grapefruit. And then so maybe it can work together. That's such a good scent. Yeah, I think it's working great. All right. Agar for the win yet again. Well, throughout these shaves with the Taiga, I've been very happy. And this is something that comes along with aggressive razors. I've been very happy with the closeness. It has always given me a very close shave. And it's not, at least in the lower range there, right at the very bottom of the settings, it's not that kind of aggression that makes me not want to keep using it, except in the early days, early maybe attempt. Maybe my hair was too long. I don't know. Maybe it was just the certain blade that I was using. I just stopped at 2 passes, but I still got a close shave. think I would have generated some irritation if I would have gone for a third pass. But I also started with a more aggressive setting at that point. Yeah. So, and my handle angle wasn't right. I hadn't learned the right one. We should just throw that shave out of the running, right? But there are razors that are just a little bit on the aggressive side, enough to where I don't get a great shave. I don't get that closeness because they're so aggressive that I'm trying not to give myself tons of irritation, and I end up not cutting the hairs closely enough. This is not one of those razors if I keep it down in the lower range. So that's, at least there's that. And it sure looks like if I was gifted this razor, or if it was sentimental in some way, then I would definitely keep it around, because I could keep it at that 1.5 or so area and get good shaves, because I'm sure other blades would be like this Astra that are going to be less edgy and more comfortable. I could find those, seek those out, and then sit happy in that little zone there. Again, well crafted piece of machinery, not to level Wolfman level, of course, but that's okay. Big deal. Seems to be a smart design. It seems to be working well. So very pleased with the product in that regard. So the B1 does continue to be a batch that's a little on the backboney side for me, a little bit too much backbone. You can see how it does have a little bit of lag, like I kind of showed you last time, but it's just so dense. And so if that's what you like, then then you're the person it was made for. Smoky grapefruit, enjoy it. Way to kind of have food, a nice pleasant fruity type scent, with it having a little bit of a character twist with that smokiness. So fan of that one. We'll keep playing around with the B1. The tips do get dry and crispy, and so don't treat them poorly when they are dry, or you might have some breakage. Thank you so much for watching. You know, it may have been smart of me not to use the tribute, the pineapple there, because I'm recalling some of the Food Network shows that I watch, and I think Alton Brown or somebody once said that pineapple is one of those on the reality shows with the cooking nature. The newbies like to bring that in, but it pretty much doesn't go with very much at all. And so it's like a death food, that ruins people's chances of winning at the game. Maybe it's good that I didn't try to combine it with grapefruit, pineapple and grapefruit. Anyway. All right, guys. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. I hope there's something in this video to help you out. Even if it's just watching the Taiga razor, when maybe there's not a lot of videos out there for it, or watching a B1. I think I do offer a different perspective about the B1 than you'll see out there a lot, because the shaving YouTube universe out there is filled with guys who love those, the B1 type brush, dense, high backbone, filled with people like that. And so that's great. You can get their opinion, but I'm the kind of the other end of the spectrum. So maybe between those opinions, you can formulate what you might like. All right, now, take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.